But it doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. She, in so many ways,
crazy shit.
And they were trying to get it. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. There was a lot of that. It's like, this is going to be her history. You know, women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career.
But Hillary is just like almost an android.
What do you mean by that?
She's not like, can you imagine talking with her about like human pain and like stuff that you're going through? Absolutely, like it wouldn't
register.
You would, exactly. You would never be able to reach her heart.
She's the political pop-up ad you can't close. Loud, outdated, and impossible to ignore. For decades, Hillary Clinton has been a fixture in American politics, a name synonymous with power, ambition, and an unending trail of controversy. While her supporters see a resilient trailblazer who broke barriers, a growing chorus of critics led by voices like Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David see something far more unsettling. They argue that behind the carefully polished image, the controlled smiles, and the teleprompter speeches lies a carefully constructed myth. They aren't just here to debate her policies, they're here to bulldoze the entire fictional narrative, exposing what they believe is the dark, hollow core of a political machine that has haunted America for a generation.
For what really is going on. Like, I was infuriated when people that I knew that I was friends with were trying to tell me that Hillary Clinton was a good choice. And that's the same choice. I'm like, look, I don't know if she's murdered people, but I know that I worry that she's murdered people. That's a real. I really wonder. Like this Seth Rich shit.
I know. First of all, just leave. You don't even need to go there. You know,
there's so many other things.
There's so many other things that we know for a fact.
The Clinton Foundation, for instance.
What was Hillary like? I hear she's a sweetheart.
Really? That's a joke,
obviously,
right?
I'm being.
That's
I'm being
oh my god!
I just wanted to see a reaction.
That's one person that's not a sweetheart. That's not a sweetheart.
What was she like?
She's very cynical and jaded.
Cynical or jaded. So that means at one point she wasn't cynical and jaded.
I probably wasn't.
The most persistent criticism leveled against Hillary isn't about a specific policy, it's about her very essence as a person. Joe Rogan didn't hold back when he described her as almost an android, a political figure so disconnected from genuine human emotion that you could never ever reach her heart. He posed a simple question: can you imagine having a real conversation with her about human pain, about the things that keep you up at night? For many, the answer is a resounding no. Her attempts to seem relatable have become legendary for their awkwardness. Every anecdote felt like it was drafted by a committee, focus grouped for relatability, and then delivered with all the warmth of a malfunctioning robot. This wasn't just a quirky personality trait, it was a fundamental crack in her foundation. It revealed a figure who seemed infinitely more comfortable with the mechanics of power than with the messy reality of the people she claimed to represent. Her public persona felt like a stiff, carefully manufactured facade that cracked under the slightest pressure of genuine human interaction, leaving voters with a deeply uncomfortable feeling that nothing they were seeing was real.
If I have 10 people that at one point in my life were best friends, and prior to meeting me, they had never done cocaine before. These 10 people, 10 out of 10, eventually became cocaine addicts and killed themselves, simply by association with me. I probably have some bad influence on these people. This lady named Hillary Clinton, one too many of her best friends or close friends have committed suicide in the random ways. She is not the most trusted person, even by the left. She was supposed to be president.
What people stop talking about? Do you remember when they blamed Benghazi on some bullshit
video
movie? Yeah, some video that someone made.
Right.
Was it like the Tears of Muslims or something like that? Or I forget that.
Nobody even knew it existed.
Nobody knew it existed. And everybody knew it was bullshit.
Right.
And they were pushing that as a narrative. Like, this is what was the motivation behind. And everybody...
This lack of a genuine core led to what many saw as a constantly shifting identity, a political chameleon who would change her colors to fit any environment. One day she'd adopt a southern drawl to connect with a crowd in the South, and the next she'd be speaking in a different cadence to a different audience. A pandering so blatant it became a running joke. This inconsistency went far beyond accents. It infected her entire political platform. She famously performed political gymnastics on the Iraq war vote, a position that helped her lose the the primary to Barack Obama in 2008. Years later, her supporters tried to dismiss it as ancient history, but critics saw it as a defining example of her willingness to say or do anything to get ahead. She was for it before she was against it, a pattern that repeated itself on numerous issues. This created the perception of a leader with no anchor, no true north, just a relentless and calculating ambition. As Patrick Bet-David pointed out, this isn't how you build trust. It's how you build a reputation for being a hollow shell, driven by nothing but the pursuit of power.
Out of this list, who's the most important?
Out of this list, it's Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton will not say shit. Hillary Clinton will not say anything. He's the former president of the United States. When did he leave office? 25 years ago. You think retroactively Bill Clinton is going to be held responsible for anything? Zero. The only person who's ever been attempted to be held responsible for anything is Donald Trump. Why? Because the entire system, the entire swamp was trying to get him. And even then, it didn't work. And by the inch of a bullet, he's still here.
So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician. It's completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever. If you watch the conversation between James Comey, when James Comey testified about what he did and what they found with the Hillary Clinton emails, and then her version of it, she's just a straight liar.
Yeah.
She deleted 30.
If her persona was a facade, the email scandal was the moment the entire set came crashing down. This wasn't a simple mistake, it was a masterclass in deliberate deception. Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, handled some of the nation's most sensitive information not on a secure government network, but on a private, unprotected server in her basement. When the existence of this server was discovered, she didn't come clean. Instead, she and her team went into full-on destruction mode. They deleted over 33,000 emails using industrial-strength software like BleachBit to make sure they could never be recovered. There were reports of aides smashing old mobile devices with hammers. The cover-up was so brazen it was almost cartoonish. Then came the infamous press conference by FBI Director James Comey. He stood before the nation and laid out a damning case, detailing her extremely careless handling of classified information, yet in a stunning twist, he recommended that no prosecutor should bring charges. For her critics, this was the ultimate proof of a two-tiered system of justice. Hillary's reaction, a smug grin, and a complete dismissal of the issue, acting as if the entire nation just didn't understand technology. It was a stunning display of someone who believed they were utterly above the law.
Bill Clinton officiated your wedding with Huma, your wife, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So you've been very close, and your wife, is it still wife or is it ex-wife? I think it's separated since 2017, right?
We're separated. We co-parent Jordan, but we're separated.
Okay. And, you know, she was a right-hand person to Hillary Clinton in 2016 while the scandal was taking place.
For years before that, she was with Hillary for, she's 20 years.
And the whole thing with the life insurance, you know, the email, 650,000, the one folder with the word life insurance and the files that are in there. So the next thing that people said you got to ask him is the following. So, you know, Rob, if you can pull up this story, I'm not going to buy into this one. Well, 9 out of 12 cops, NYPD, who saw the email and saw what was in that laptop, you know, committed suicide. And it was, you know, 7 of them since June, and it was the most ever that this took place. And
But if hiding emails was a calculated act of domestic deception, what came next was a full-blown international crisis that exposed a chilling indifference to truth and human life. On September 11th, 2012, the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, was overrun by a coordinated terrorist attack. 4 Americans, including Ambassador Chris Stevens, were killed. Calls for help reportedly went unanswered for hours. In the aftermath, the nation demanded to know what happened and why. Instead of clarity, Hillary Clinton's State Department, along with the Obama administration, delivered what many now see as a blatant, unforgivable lie. They stood before the world and blamed the attack not on terrorism, but on a spontaneous protest sparked by an obscure anti-Islam YouTube video that virtually no one had ever seen or heard of. Key administration figures like Susan Rice were sent on a media tour to push this narrative, a narrative they knew was false. It was a cold, calculated attempt to deflect from a catastrophic policy failure in the middle of a presidential election. When later confronted about the lies during a congressional hearing, Hillary's response was a cold, dismissive snarl. What difference at this point does it make? For the families of the fallen, it made all the difference in the world.
Big problem. That Clinton Foundation is fucking insane. And all these people that were blind supporters of Hillary that didn't look at that, like, how do you not find a giant problem with that?
Right. And that book by Schweitzer talks about it. He goes in detail about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. How's
He's
that
a
guy
bright.
staying
I'm
alive?
surprised. That's what I was just
Yeah.
going to say. After the
Because he's
Clinton
not going
cash,
after the Russians.
dude, Clinton cash was bad enough. This one's
Yeah.
even worse. I'm surprised he's not dead.
I wonder how many people are actually. The Hillary Clintons are the people that are like maybe disrespectful to the servers, and you find out about it, they sent food back.
The Democrat wall of support for Hillary Clinton's use of a private, unsecure server for official government emails and attachments. Yeah, I remember all of that.
It's not the main guy, it's the support staff.
Her party rallied to her defense. And to this day, it maintains she did nothing wrong. Of course.
The main people are not the president.
As if that woman has a scintilla of credibility on any issue related to national security.
The main
They
people
need
are the people that
it.
are running Raytheon,
Yeah.
the people that are running these gigantic companies that make weapons.
Exactly what is her list of successes? From Haiti to Benghazi, she was a total.
This willingness to bend reality for political gain wasn't a one-off incident. Years earlier, she had crafted a dramatic story about a trip to Bosnia in 1996. She claimed that upon landing, she and her entourage had to run across the tarmac under sniper fire. It was a harrowing tale meant to paint her as a tough, battle-tested first lady. There was just one problem. It was a complete fabrication. News footage of the event surfaced showing her walking calmly on the tarmac, greeting a small child, and participating in a peaceful ceremony. There was no sniper fire, no mad dash for safety. She was caught in a bold-faced lie, and what made it worse, as her critics pointed out, was that she was willing to throw the entire Secret Service under the bus. What kind of protective detail would let the First Lady run for her life under active sniper fire? It was a small but telling episode that revealed a deep-seated pattern of embellishment and outright deception, all in service of building a public image that was fundamentally disconnected from the truth.
And rightly so, but people forget this. She did talk about a firefight that she was involved
I
in.
was under sniper fire. And the worst thing about that people didn't give a shit about, she said when she was in Bosnia, she was under sniper fire. It's like, wait a minute. You're throwing the Secret Service under the bus. Because what kind of Secret Service is going to let the First Lady run under sniper fire? And and she just basically.
So many other things.
So many other things that we know for a fact.
The Clinton Foundation, for instance.
So, the Iraq War. I'm old enough, Joe, to remember when being for the Iraq War was a disqualifier in a Democratic primary. That's where I'm from. That's why she lost to Barack Obama the first goddamn time she ran.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're supposed to. Now people like Joy Behar says that was a long time ago. Forget about it. Why don't you go tell that to a soldier's, to a mother?
While her political image was built on lies, her financial empire appeared to be built on something even more troubling: influence peddling on a global scale. The Clinton Foundation was pitched to the world as a beacon of philanthropic goodwill, but as detailed in Peter Schweitzer's bombshell book, Clinton Cash, it looked more like a global cash funnel. The lines between charity, personal enrichment, and state business became dangerously blurred. While Hillary was Secretary of State, the foundation raked in hundreds of millions of dollars in donations from foreign governments, corporations, and oligarchs, many of whom had major business pending before her State Department. The most infamous example was the Uranium One deal, where a Russian state-owned company was allowed to purchase a significant portion of America's uranium supply. At the same time, individuals connected to the deal just so happened to pour millions into the Clinton Foundation. It wasn't just a foundation. Critics argue it was a perfectly legal yet deeply corrupt pay-to-play scheme where access and influence were the top commodities for sale, all under the guise of helping the poor.
What people stop talking about, do you remember when they blamed Benghazi on some bullshit
Video.
movie?
Yeah.
Some video that someone made.
Right.
Was it like the Tears of Muslims or something like that? Or I forget the...
Nobody even knew it existed.
Nobody knew it existed. And
Yeah.
everybody knew it was bullshit.
Right.
And they were pushing that as a narrative. Like, this is what was the motivation behind. And everybody, they rigged the DNC. They rigged the primaries so that Bernie Sanders was going to lose. She had her people into the DNC
that was
way in
crazy.
advance. That Donna Brazil book about it is mind-blowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing was, he was packing fucking stadiums.
Yeah.
She couldn't even fill a fucking high school gymnasium.
Right. She
Fucking-
was pulling all the strings, and she had all the favors that she was pulling in, and she had a shit ton of money behind her, and they were completely arrogant, and all the liberal elite in the media thought there was no chance that she was going to lose. She's 95% shoe-in to win the presidency, and she walked around like she was...
Beyond the documented scandals, a darker, more unsettling cloud of suspicion has followed the Clintons for decades. Patrick Bet David laid out a chilling analogy. If 10 of your closest friends who had never done drugs all became cocaine addicts and ended their own lives after meeting you, a reasonable person would conclude you're probably a bad influence. He then applied that dark logic to Hillary Clinton, pointing to the unnervingly long list of close associates and individuals who have met untimely and often strange ends. This taps into the whispers that have persisted for years, from the mysterious case of DNC staffer Seth Rich, who was murdered in what police called a botched robbery, to the story that circulated about a group of NYPD officers who allegedly saw the contents of Anthony Weiner's laptop and later took their own lives. Rogan himself often shies away from these territories, saying there are enough proven facts to focus on. But for millions of people, the sheer volume of these coincidences creates a pattern so disturbing that it becomes impossible to ignore, fostering a deep-seated fear that there is a much darker story hidden just beneath the surface. While these dark rumors swirled, a much more public manipulation was unfolding in plain sight. A betrayal not against her opponents, but against her own party. The 2016 Democratic primary was supposed to be a fair contest between Hillary Clinton and the populist firebrand Bernie Sanders. But the fix was in from the very beginning. As former DNC chair Donna Brazile later revealed in her explosive book, Hillary's campaign had effectively taken over the Democratic Party's finances and strategy long before a single vote was cast, essentially buying control of the party apparatus. This institutional rigging was propped up by a complicit media that treated her nomination as an inevitability. The contrast on the ground was stark. Bernie was packing massive stadiums with tens of thousands of passionate, energized supporters. Hillary, meanwhile, was struggling to fill high school gymnasiums, but it didn't matter. She had the machine, she had the superdelegates, and she had pulled all the strings. The DNC was weaponized to ensure she would win, demonstrating a contempt for the democratic process itself and proving that her ambition was so absolute, she wouldn't even play fair in her own sandbox. After losing one of the most stunning political upsets in modern history, Hillary didn't engage in self-reflection. She engaged in a relentless, globe-trotting blame tour. She wrote a book, What Happened, that pointed the finger at everyone but herself. It was Russia's fault. It was James Comey's fault. It was the fault of misogyny, the media, the FBI, and the Green Party. The list of culprits was endless. She rebranded her spectacular political faceplant as if it were a cosmic injustice that America had to correct. To this day, she parades around as if the presidency was her reserved table and someone dared to sit in her seat, that the White House was a prize she was owed. She has become the political ghost who refuses to leave the stage, haunting every election cycle with her commentary, rattling the chains of her lost chances and broken narratives. The roast from critics like Rogan and Bet David isn't over because her ambition never sleeps. But they don't need to write new punchlines. They just have to keep pulling receipts from a closet she swears is clean, revealing a cautionary tale of a political figure who mistook spin for leadership, entitlement for connection, and ambition for a destiny that was never hers to claim.